UN calls on Israel to approve medical evacuation for 15,000 Gazans. EU moves to unlock frozen Russian assets for Ukraine war effort. UK police arrest 3 men suspected of spying for Russia. A deadly highway collision in Uganda claims 46 lives. Good afternoon. Welcome to The World in 30 Minutes on Politics and Business Television. I'm Fatima Abubakar Oyibo. Many thanks for joining us. Details of this news, stories, and more content to come after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The news in full. The United Nations has urged Israel to allow the immediate evacuation of 15,000 Palestinians from Gaza who are in urgent need of medical treatment abroad. Despite a ceasefire agreement, the Rafah border crossing remains closed, preventing critically ill patients from accessing life-saving care. The World Health Organization emphasized the dire situation, warning that delays could cost thousands of lives. The International Court of Justice has also ruled that Israel, as the occupying power, is legally obligated to facilitate humanitarian aid and medical access. The UN's appeal comes amid growing international pressure to ease restrictions and address the worsening humanitarian crisis in the war-torn enclave. In the final debate before Election Day, New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo clashed fiercely over leadership, experience, and vision for the city. Mamdani, the frontrunner and a democratic socialist, focused on housing affordability and progressive reforms, while Cuomo, running as an independent, attacked Mamdani's lack of government experience, sparking one of night's most heated exchanges. The debate, held at LaGuardia Performing Arts Center, also featured Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa, though much of the spotlight remained on Mamdani and Cuomo. Mamdani accused Cuomo of clinging to power and lacking a forward-looking agenda, while Cuomo defended his record as governor and tried to shake off past scandals. The candidates also spared over crime, immigration, and how each would respond to a second Trump presidency, with tensions running high throughout the evening. While tensions between the United States and Colombia have intensified after President Donald Trump and Colombian President Gustavo Petro exchanged sharp verbal attacks. Trump accused Petro of enabling drug trafficking and called him a thug, while announcing the suspension of all U.S. military aid to Colombia. He warned Petro to watch it, citing Colombia's alleged role in the international narcotics trade and claiming the country was becoming a death trap. In response, Petro vowed to take legal action against Trump in American courts, defending his administration's record and rejecting the accusations. The diplomatic role comes amid U.S. military strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats in the Pacific, which Petro has publicly criticized. The escalating rhetoric marks a new low in U.S.-Colombia relations, with both leaders digging in amid growing geopolitical friction. European Union leaders are preparing to approve a groundbreaking plan to use frozen Russian central bank assets to support Ukraine's defense and reconstruction. The initiative could unlock up to 140 billion euros, with interest generated from these assets converted into long-term financial aid for Kyiv. The move is part of a broader effort to hold Russia financially accountable for its invasion while reinforcing EU solidarity with Ukraine. Belgium, which holds the majority of the frozen funds through Euroclear, has raised legal concerns and demanded guarantees to avoid financial liability. Despite these reservations, EU officials are confident that a political agreement will be reached during the Brussels summit, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to make a personal appeal for support. If finalized, the plan will set a precedent in international finance by repurposing immobilized sovereign assets for conflict reparations. It builds on the G7's earlier decision to use interest from this fund to back a $50 billion loan for Ukraine, signaling a coordinated Western strategy to sustain Ukraine's resilience and economic stability amid ongoing Russian aggression. Meanwhile, two Ukrainian journalists, Olena Hubanova and Yevhen Karmazin, were killed in a Russian drone strike in Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, while reporting from the Eastern Front. The attack occurred on Thursday when a Lancet drone targeted their vehicle at a petrol station. Both journalists were affiliated with Freedom TV, a state-funded channel that broadcasts in Russian. A third journalist, Alexander Kolichev, was injured and remains hospitalized. The Donetsk regional governor, Vadim Filashkin, confirmed the incident and shared images of the charred remains of the journalist's car. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack, calling it a deliberate assault on press freedom and labeling it a war crime. Ukraine's human rights ombudsman echoed the sentiment, emphasizing the growing dangers faced by reporters covering the conflict. The deaths of Hubanova and Karmazin highlight the escalating use of drone warfare in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the increasing risk for journalists on the front lines. Both reporters had deep ties to the region. Hubanova originally trained as a finance specialist before turning to journalism in 2014, while Karmazin was a native of Kramatorsk. The loss has sparked widespread mourning and renewed calls for international accountability. British counter-terrorism police have arrested 3 men in London on suspicion of assisting Russia's foreign intelligence service. The suspects, aged 44, 45 and 48, were detained under the National Security Act at addresses in West and Central London. Authorities say the arrests are part of an ongoing effort to disrupt foreign espionage operations targeting the UK. Commander Dominic Murphy of Counter-Terrorism Police in London stated that the men were believed to be proxies recruited by Russian intelligence. Searches are underway at multiple locations connected to the suspect. The arrests come amid heightened concerns over Russia's bold campaign of espionage, sabotage, and cyber interference across Europe. It's watching the world in 30 minutes live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, China vows rapid development amid profound changes in new 5-year plan. Stay with us. Welcome back. Moving to Asia now, in Pakistan, a nationwide campaign to vaccinate young girls against the human papilloma virus, or HPV, is facing fierce backlash. The vaccine, which prevents cervical cancer, was introduced in September, targeting girls aged 9 to 14. But misinformation has spread rapidly, with false claims about infertility and foreign agendas fueling public distrust. Health workers have also encountered resistance in conservative communities where discussing sexual health remains taboo. Officials say the backlash mirrors past challenges seen during polio vaccination drives, where conspiracy theories and religious sensitivities undermined public health efforts. Despite the pushback, the government insists the vaccine is safe and essential, noting that cervical cancer kills an estimated 8 women in Pakistan every day. The campaign is part of a global initiative to eliminate the disease by 2030. Meanwhile, China's leadership has unveiled its strategic priorities for the upcoming 15th 5-year plan, pledging rapid economic development while acknowledging profound changes in the global and domestic landscape. The plan, set to begin in 2026, focuses on boosting domestic consumption, enhancing technological self-reliance, and modernizing the industrial system. Officials emphasize the need to eliminate structural bottlenecks and strengthen national security. The announcement followed a closed-door meeting of top Communist Party officials in Beijing, where concerns over economic headwinds, geopolitical tensions, and post-pandemic recovery dominated discussions. The plan outlines aggressive investment in high-tech sectors like semiconductors and advanced manufacturing, aiming to position China as a global innovation leader. Analysts interpret the roadmap as a pivot towards resilience and long-term modernization, with a renewed focus on improving livelihoods and expanding internal demand. China is signaling its intent to adapt swiftly to shifting global dynamics while reinforcing its ambition for economic and strategic dominance. Back to Africa, a tragic multi-vehicle collision on Uganda's Kampala-Gulu highway has left 46 people dead and dozens more injured. The crash occurred just after midnight when two buses traveling in opposite directions attempted to overtake a truck and a car, resulting in a head-on collision. Initial reports had placed the death toll at 63, but police later revised the figure after confirming the number of fatalities. The accident happened near Kiriandongo, about 125 miles north of Kampala, on one of the country's busiest and most dangerous roads. Authorities have launched an investigation and are urging motorists to avoid reckless overtaking, which remains a leading cause of fatal crashes in Uganda. Survivors were rushed to nearby hospitals, and the incident has reignited calls for stricter road safety enforcement. And in Sudan's capital, Khartoum has come under drone attack for the third straight day following the reopening of its international airport after a 2-year closure. The paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) targeted key military facilities and the airport early Thursday morning, prompting the Sudanese Armed Forces (SAF) to intercept the drones before they could cause damage. Witnesses reported hearing explosions around 4 a.m. as drones flew overhead, intensifying fears of renewed escalation in the ongoing civil conflict. The reopening of Khartoum International Airport had been hailed as a step toward restoring connectivity and normalcy in the war-torn capital. A Badr Airlines flight marked the resumption of domestic air travel, but the persistent drone strike have cast doubt on the safety and sustainability of operations. Analysts say both RSF and SAF are ramping up drone warfare, signaling a dangerous shift in tactics as the battle for control of Sudan's capital deepens. And that wraps up the program, but before we go, the headlines again. UN calls on Israel to approve medical evacuation for 15,000 Gazans. EU moves to unlock frozen Russian assets for Ukraine war effort. UK police arrest 3 men suspected of spying for Russia. And deadly highway collision in Uganda claims 46 lives. For more updates and in-depth analysis, follow Politics and Business TV.English on YouTube and Facebook. Connect with us on Instagram at PMBTV_English and TikTok and X at PMBTV_ENG. Remember to